Hello my friends, this is the part 2, part where we edit this image. If you did not see how we took this image, then go back and watch the part 1 where I show you behind the scene exactly how I took this image with just one light. So we will edit two images here. I will edit this image first. This is the one where I use the two lights because this is my normal workflow and I want you to see how I do it. And then we will edit the image where we used one single light and we moved it around, so we'll have to composite it. And for that image, I will be using this exposure where we just took an exposure with the rim light and the cap. And then for the label, I will be using this image for the label and the highlight on the front of the cap. So let's go right into it. I will start with this image, and then to develop, I'm not going to do much in here. All I want to do is just add some contrast, maybe around 20, and then some texture, maybe around 20, a little bit of clarity around 16, a little bit of vibrance even though we have no colors here. And then the sharpening, I'll hold down Option to mask it and move this to around 86. Enable profile correction and remove chromatic aberration. I will click those. And then another thing I want to do is I want to move the blacks a little bit to the left. I want to get them a little bit blacker. Not too black because then you see I will lose my rim light on the bottom. So just a little bit blacker, something like that. And now I will do Command E to send this image into Photoshop. Great, now we are in Photoshop and the first thing we need to do is separate the subject from the background. To do so, I will first duplicate the layer, Command J, and then here I will do a little bit something different than I usually do. First of all, I will still use the Curvature Pen Tool, which is over here. If you're not familiar with Curvature Pen Tool, let me just show you really quick how it works. I will make a white layer over here. And Curvature Pen Tool, you see you click and you make points, and as you make points, it wants to make a curve. So it keeps curving, it does not make straight lines. When you want to make a straight corner, if you want to, make a pointy corner, you will hold down Option on the Mac, Alt on Windows, and click on that, and that now becomes a pointy curve, a pointy corner. You see, I can change these ones to points. I can move them. I can make them pointy. I can even click on them and delete them. And then if I want to add them back, I can go and click and add them back. And now it's a curve one and I have to hold down Option, click on it to make it pointy. This is basically how the Curvature Pen Tool works. So it's a really easy, nice one for when you want to make selections. So I'm going to make two selections here with the Curvature Pen Tool. The first selection is going to be this bottom portion. Then I'm going to make another selection for the top portion, so that'll be my second selection. And then I will use a different tool for this middle part, because the middle part, as I zoom in at 100%, you see it's not so easy to make this selection. It has, a little bit more detail than there. So let's make this these three instances. We do three selections. So with the Curvature Pen Tool, I'll start somewhere here in the middle and just simply click on it. This one I may have to make it straight. Oops. And I'm just going around it, just like that. Make this one straight. Maybe move this one a little bit up. Go back to my one. And here I am just going to go straight, straight, straight across. And here I need to make this one a straight point, adjust this one a little bit, and now we'll just go around this corner. This is really one of the easiest tools to make selections, but there are many tools in Photoshop that you could be using. You just have to understand what each tool does, and then it makes it so much easier to know exactly which tool to use for which job. This one I need to adjust a little bit in here. Add another point in this part. I need to make this one a straight corner. Then we'll go all the way into this side. I need to adjust this one just a little bit. Make this one straight. And we'll go around this corner. And now when we get to the first point that we did, we click on it and that closes the path. Command 0 to fit to screen. And you see that is our path. Now we right click on it, make a selection. I like to keep my feather radius at 1 pixel, click OK. And now selected everything but this part of the image. So we need to inverse it, go to select inverse. And now we have a selection and we go Command J to put it on its own layer. So you see if I turn these two layers off, all we have now it's the bottom part. Now we need to select the top part. So I'll go back to my image, zoom in at 100%. And here I will start somewhere in the middle of the cap over here. And we'll go straight, make a little. The closer you go to the points on the curves, the easiest it is to make these corners. There we go. And I need to add another point over here, something like that. Go back to my last point, and now I think I can go straight. I need to add one more point. Maybe make this one a straight point. There you go. And now I need to go around this cap. I need to adjust this one to put a little bit more on the outside. Go back on my last one, and now I'll connect it with my first one. Command 0 to fit to screen, and this is our path. Right click on it, make a selection just like before. Feather radius 1 pixel, and of course we have to inverse it again. So select inverse, and now we just have the cap selected, and Command J, and that will put it on its own layer. So now you see if I take off the last two layers, now we have the cap and we have the bottom. Now we need to select the middle part. So I'll go back to my image. And this time I will use a different tool for this. I'll zoom in at 100%. And the tool I will be using for this, it's over here, and it's called Magnetic Lasso tool. It's under your Lasso tool. The last one, it's Magnetic Lasso tool. So the way this one works, it's a magnetic, as the name says, and it just clings to the edges where there's contrast. So you see I'm just dragging it close to the edge, and it just clings to the edges. So it's really good for this kind of detailed edges where you have a lot of contrast, because it can make a very accurate selection there. So I'm just gonna go like this around here, and now I'm dragging around these edges, and it just automatically it clings to the edges. All right, just like that. And here I don't need to inverse it, it just makes a selection. And with this selection made, let's see, let's go feather it for a little bit. So I'll go to select and modify, and I want to feather it. And I'll just do this one by 0.5 pixel, that's okay. I'll click OK, and now Command J to put it on its own layer. So now if I turn off this background layer, Command 0 to fit to screen, we have the whole cap on 3 separate layers. I'm turning back everything on. And now what I want to do is select these 3 layers where I have my 3 parts of the subject, and then right click on it and merge layer, and this will turn them into one layer. So now we have our selection on just one layer. So instead of having 3 different layers with our selection, we have one layer. Now I need to get rid of these white parts where my reflector was showing. So in order to do that, I will click on this layer that is underneath my subject. I'll go to my brush tool, and holding our option, I'll take a sample of this black that is next to my product. And then I will go into this adjustment layers and create a solid color layer. And that will just fill it with that color that we chose. And now we got rid of those white parts. I need to crop this image a little bit to center my subject, and for this one I decided to go with a 8:10 crop. So I will select that, and then let's see, I'll move it a little bit. I want to make sure I center my subject. Maybe crop it a little bit this way. Maybe I want it a little bit bigger to leave some room on the top, and that looks pretty good to me. And now because I created that adjustment layer for the fill to fill the black, it will conform and fill in these parts over here. So just click OK, and those parts will get filled with the color, and everything is going to look great. All right, now I want to add that glow on the back. How do we do that? Well, I will click on the layer underneath my subject because I want to put my glow under the subject. And then over here on the left, I will go and choose the elliptical marquee tool. And with the elliptical marquee tool, I will hold down somewhere here in the middle, hold down Shift and Option so I can make a circle. If you want to move it around your image, you have to hold down the bar, the space bar. So I'll make it about this big, like that. And now I will make a new layer because I want to put this on its own layer, and I want to fill it with white. Now, as my colors here, I have black and white. If you have something else, like let's say you have red and white, click D on your keyboard and that will reset them. So now because I want to fill it with white, a shortcut to fill this selection with white is Command Delete, and that will fill it with white. Command D to get rid of those marching ants, and now we have a glow behind, but it looks terrible. What we need to do with this glow, we need to go to Filter, Blur, and give it a Gaussian blur. And this I'll go all the way to 1000 pixel, which is the max you can go. Click OK. Now the glow looks alright, but it's too much, so I will need to take down the opacity. I'll do it maybe 50% or so. Also, I don't like it that the glow goes all the way to the bottom, and now I feel like, well, I don't see my table anymore. It just looks a little bit fake. So I want to create a table underneath. To do that, I will go under my glow, and I will use the rectangular marquee tool, and I'll just make a rectangle like this. And now with this rectangle, I want to fill it with black. Now black is my foreground color, and the shortcut to fill it with black, it is Option Delete on the Mac. Oops, I have to put it on its own layer. I'm going to make its own layer and now do Option Delete. So now I have it filled with black, but it's behind my glow, so Command D to get rid of the marching ants. I'm going to put it on top of the glow. And now it looks more like a table, but it's too high up. I want the horizon of the table to be kind of right here. So Command T to transform this layer. And I will just move it down, hold down Shift, and then just move it down. I'm going to put it right there where the bottom of my subject. Something like that. Now the problem is if we zoom in at 100%, that edge of the table, it's very, very sharp because we just created in Photoshop. So I want to blur it a little bit. Selected, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And here I'm going to give it something that looks natural. So let's see, maybe around 5 pixels look alright, and that just makes it blend a little bit better. Command 0 to fit to screen. So this is how I would edit the image that, we took with two lights. Of course, I would make a new layer, and then with the healing spot tool, I would go through all these little parts and get rid of all the dust and so on, but I'm not gonna do that because it will take too long. Let's go back to Lightroom and select our two images that we took with one light. So it was this one, I marked them with 2 stars, was this one and this one. So with my two images selected into Lightroom, I need to go to Photo, Edit In, and then I will open them as layers in Photoshop. Now here are our two layers, the one that we will be using for the cap and the one that we'll be using for the edge light and the reflection on the top of the cap. Now I didn't do any kind of adjustments in Lightroom to these images. I should have done the same adjustments as I did the other image, but that's okay, you will get the idea. First thing I need to do is to make a selection around my subject, and I will do the same method as I did in the other image. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of hoarse voice. So I'll take my Curvature Pen Tool and I will start with the bottom portion. I will zoom at 100% so I can see what I'm doing. And just like in the other image, I will go around these edges. And now that we have our three selections, just like in the other image, I will select them all, right click on it and merge layers. And now we have our subject on its own layer. So now I can go Command 0 to fit to screen, go on the layer underneath, take my brush tool and select the black that is next to my product, and then make a solid color adjustment layer to fill the layer. So there we go. Now we got rid of those white spots, but now we have to blend in the highlights from this image over here. So what I will do, I will bring it to the top. This is where we have the label and the highlight on the front. And what I will do, I will just change the blending mode from normal into lighten. And then I need to make a mask with this image over here. So holding down Command, I will click on my subject that I already selected, and that makes a selection. And I will go to this image and just mask it. So now that lighten image, it only shows onto my subject, and that is okay because that's what I want to do, just lighten the part in the middle. Now I do not want it on the cap here because I did like the way the highlight was before. So what I will do is just go on my mask, and then with the Curvature Pen Tool, I can zoom it at 100% and make a selection of this cap where I want to keep my highlight from the other exposure. So just quickly make a selection. and I am closing the path here, and then right click and make selection, feathered 1 pixel, that's okay. And Command 0 to fit to screen. I have to inverse it, so select inverse. And now what I will do, I'm on the mask, so black hides, white reveals. What I need to do is hide the cap from there. So I'll take my brush, X to toggle between white and black because I needed the black, and I'll just paint over to reveal the exposure from my other image. Command D to get rid of the marching ants. And then just like before, we can go under the subject and take our elliptical marquee tool, make a circle. I'm gonna make it smaller this time. Last time I feel like maybe it was a little bit too big. I'm gonna put it somewhere in here, maybe like that. And then I'll make a new layer, fill this with white, so it's Command Delete to fill it with white, Command D to get rid of the marching ants. This is not perfectly centered, so let me move it a little bit more to the right. Something like that. Now it's centered, and I need to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and blur this by 1000 pixels. And now we have a nicer glow. And again, just like before, I do want to go and create that table effect. So I will take my rectangular marquee tool, draw a rectangle, I'll put it on its own layer, and I will fill it with black. That is Option Delete. And now it's filled with black. And then with the Move tool, I can move it under here. Command D to get rid of the marching ants. And then also I'll be blurring this by a few pixels. So go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and this time we'll just, blur it by like 4 pixels. Click OK. And this is how you composite images that you want to take highlights and shadows and parts of the image that you take and you want to make it into one image. I hope this was helpful and you learned something new. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Skylar Ewing. I'll see you in my next video.